Hi and welcome to my kitchen for today's maths lesson. Today we're going to follow on from what Mrs. McGuinness was doing yesterday with the weighing. Today we're going to be looking at rationing and how much of each item that was rationed that each person could have. Right, so firstly, each person was given a certain amount of food. This was called rationing and it happened between the years 1940 and 1954. This was because food during that time, certain foods during that time were scarce, and to prevent people from stockpiling and having too much and some people not having any at all, it was rationed. So the rationing for an average adult would be 4 ounces of bacon, 2 ounces of butter, 2 ounces of cheese, 4 ounces of margarine, 4 ounces of cooking fat, 3 pints of milk, 8 ounces of sugar, 2 ounces of tea, 1 egg, and 3 ounces of sweets. So just to give you an idea of what it would have looked like, these are all the things that I've just mentioned. So we have there bacon, eggs, sugar, margarine, tea, cooking fat and cheese, and butter, and meat as well. You would have had a ration book with your name on, and you would have taken that to your local butchers or your local shop. We didn't have shops like Tesco's and Sainsbury's in those days. You would have gone to lots of different shops for your different needs. Right, so let's start with looking at all of the different things and how much they are. Okay, so let's start with bacon. I have a pot here and I have the amount already ready here. So we have 4 ounces of bacon. It actually amounts to not very much. It's 3.5 slices of bacon a week. That is all that you are allowed. The next thing would be butter. I have the ramekin on there, and I have weighed out for you 2 ounces of butter. This is what 2 ounces of butter looks like. And again, though it seems like quite a lot, that would be all the butter you would put onto your sandwiches, your toast. That is it. That is all you can have all week. Next we have margarine. Margarine would have been used in cooking to make cakes and scones and many things that would have been eaten during the 1940s. That is 4 ounces of margarine. That would not have gone very far, especially if you are making a cake. Also, which I don't have today, is cheese. This is how much cheese you would have had. You would have had 2 ounces of cheese. That would have been it for a whole week. Can you imagine that much cheese for a whole week? Next would have been cooking fat. Now, in those days, they probably would have had a hardened cooking fat, something along the lines of lard. I don't have that. The nearest I have is sunflower oil. So I'm just going to give you an idea again of how much it would have been. So not very much. That would have been enough that you would have had that just to do all of your cooking with. Next would have been milk. You had 3 pints of milk available to you. So there's quite a lot of milk here for you for a whole week. I've got a 2 pints of milk here, and I've emptied a pint into a jug here. So that's quite a lot of milk. What you would have used this milk for would have been your cereal and your tea. So next up would have been sugar. I have the sugar here. You would have had 8 ounces of sugar. So there's quite a bit of sugar there. Again, though, that would have been used to make cakes and scones and many things like that. And also it probably would have gone in your tea. The next up would have been the tea, as I keep mentioning. Now, 2 ounces of tea looks like this. In those days, it would have been loose leaf tea, so it would have looked like that. That's not very much. That's not going to make a huge amount. What I did do, just to help you, was measure out 2 ounces of tea using tea bags, and I counted them. That's 17 tea bags. 17 tea bags for 7 days. So is that enough tea? Maybe if you drink one cup of tea a day, but in those days I think quite a lot of tea was drunk, so it wouldn't have been very much. Next would have been your egg ration if you did not have chickens. Now, here we have is 1 egg. So you would have only had access to 1 egg for the whole week. Now, if you wanted to make a cake, you probably would have had to have shared the family's rationing of eggs and butter and flour and other things just to make one cake. Finally, the one thing the children were all interested in was sweets. There wasn't very much around in those days, but you were only allowed 3 ounces. You would have been allowed 12 ounces a month, so that would have been roughly 3 ounces a week. Here is what it looks like. Not very much. That would have been for a whole week. 7 days worth of sweets. So that is what wartime rationing in modern day times would have looked like. It would have been very, very difficult, I think. So now we've had a look at what food would have looked like during World War II with rationing. Vegetables probably weren't rationed very much, purely because people were encouraged in those days to dig for victory. So they were encouraged to dig vegetable gardens in their gardens. I'm not going to set a task for this afternoon. What I'm going to suggest you do, if you can, maybe plant some seeds if you have access to any of those, which is exactly what I'm going to do this afternoon. So get outside in the sunshine if you can and enjoy it and dig for victory. Thank you.